And Indiana has done it. Their first ever Commissioner's Cup championship, knocking off the Minnesota Lynx. This is Howard setting up McDonald, knocking down the tray. Finds a cutting McDonald, easy deuce.
Caitlin Clark just won a championship without even stepping on the court, and somehow that made her more dangerous than ever. This wasn't supposed to happen. The haters thought they finally had her cornered, injured, disrespected, and fading from the spotlight. The media had started counting her out. Players in her own league were voting her down, and behind the scenes, the whispers were growing louder. She's overrated. She's just hype. She'll never win anything. Then the Indiana Fever did the unthinkable. They dominated the WNBA's top team on the biggest stage of the season, and they did it without their superstar. The moment that final buzzer sounded, everything changed. Clark didn't just prove her worth, she flipped the entire narrative. But here's the part no one wants to admit. This win didn't calm the storm, it made it worse.
The Caitlin Clark show is very real, and Caitlin Clark's ability to rise to the moment and put on a show is remarkable.
It exposed the jealousy, deepened the divide, and ignited a civil war that's been quietly building inside the WNBA for years. Stick around, because what just happened isn't just a comeback, it's a warning. And by the time you hear what Caitlin said after the game, you'll understand why the league is officially on edge. At the start of the season, the Indiana Fever were being hyped as a rising super team. Big name signings, bold campaigns. Caitlin Clark was jacked, focused, and ready to dominate. And for a moment, it looked like the hype was real, until it wasn't. Everything fell apart. A league investigation for hate speech, a brutal 5-game injury, a veteran teammate mentally checking out mid-season. The locker room was scattered, the momentum was gone, and right when things seemed to be stabilizing again, Clark got taken out again, this time in garbage time against Seattle, leaving her sidelined for the Commissioner's Cup.
There's just like a certain star quality and like star power there, but it takes you being confident enough, willing enough to be like, oh no, I know what you want, come here, I'm gonna give it to you. I loved it so much.
So when the Fever walked into the Cup final without their star, no one gave them a shot. ESPN literally posted a headline during the game declaring the Lynx as the champions. Before the final buzzer even sounded, it was one of the most embarrassing premature celebrations in sports media. And then it happened. Down early, the Fever flipped a switch. An 18-0 run left the Lynx stunned. Natasha Howard went beast mode. Sophie Cunningham stepped up big, and in front of a stunned crowd, Indiana pulled off the unthinkable. They dominated the best team in the league in their own building without Caitlin Clark. But this wasn't just a win, it was a nuclear shift, because it shattered the one narrative her critics held onto like gospel.
The media, I felt like, mishandled so many things with the WNBA last season, and specifically with Caitlin Clark and her fan base. And that's one thing when you start thinking about how many people stopped watching when Caitlin Clark got injured. A lot of people stopped watching because they are boycotting the WNBA. They don't want to give viewership to any other teams or any other players, whether they like other players on the team or not, because of how the media and the league itself has handled Caitlin Clark.
For years, critics clung to one talking point like it was a fact carved in stone. Caitlin Clark can't win a championship. It didn't matter that she shattered college records. It didn't matter that she carried Iowa to back-to-back title games. If there wasn't a trophy in her hand at the end, the haters screamed overrated. That one missing piece was used to keep her off ESPN's top 5 college players of all time list. It was the go-to weapon in every debate, the crutch her rivals leaned on to downplay her greatness. And it's exactly what fueled the tired comparisons to Angel Reese. Clark's got no rings, Angel's got 2, but this Commissioner's Cup win broke that argument into pieces.
3 threes in 38 seconds in the first half. Caitlin Clark hit 3 logo bombs, by the way. 3 logo bombs in 38 seconds. This was the Caitlin Clark we all said, oh, she's different. She's sent from outer space. The Caitlin Clark that we saw today was the Caitlin Clark that we were accustomed to seeing. Oh, it feels good, folks.
Because even though she didn't play in the final game, Clark was the reason they got there in the first place. Just days before the championship, she dropped a near triple-double, 32 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists against the previously undefeated New York Liberty. That single performance shifted the entire path of the cup. Without that masterclass, Indiana never sees the final. She didn't ride the bench to a win. She dragged her team to the doorstep and trusted them to finish the job. And they did. But instead of giving her credit, the haters panicked. They changed the rules. Suddenly, the cup wasn't a real championship.
Number one of the greatest single half performances I've ever seen in basketball. I've fully watched all of Magic, all of Bird, all of Chuck, all of Jordan, Ewing, Olajuwon, all of them. It was one of the best halves. It was in the top 5 best offensive halves of basketball I've ever seen.
Suddenly, her contributions didn't count because she wasn't on the floor for the last buzzer. The same people who celebrated Angel Reese for a championship she wasn't even in the building for were now screaming that Clark's win was fake. The double standard wasn't subtle, it was screaming, and it told you everything you need to know about how deep this goes. Because the truth is, it was never about championships. As soon as the final buzzer echoed and Indiana walked off as champions, the internet went into full meltdown mode. Not celebration, rage. Within minutes, posts started flooding in from salty fans and angry critics claiming the game was rigged.
Second-year players clearing out that side of the floor, shooting on Stewie, and then watch the reaction with one another. Stewie's laughing. Caitlin knows it's ridiculous. Just out there having a good time with.
No way the Lynx score under 60 points unless the league handed it to the Fever. Some even went as far as saying, we'll find out what shady backroom deal the W made to throw this game. It was pure chaos and pure nonsense. The funniest part, these same people had no problem celebrating Angel Reese's unrivaled pro championship just weeks earlier. She didn't just miss the final game, she wasn't even in the building. Didn't matter. Graphics were made. Congratulations were posted. Media headlines crowned her a champion. No questions asked. But Caitlin Clark helps carry her team through a tournament, puts up a historic performance against an undefeated Liberty squad, and gets her team to the finals.
Yup, I'm gonna say it. Caitlin Clark is the best basketball player in the world. She's the best basketball player that I have ever seen. She is the difference maker. She is the needle mover. She is the face of basketball right now.
And suddenly none of it counts? Now it's not a real title. Now it's invalid because she wasn't on the floor for the final game. This wasn't basketball analysis. This was emotional damage control, because deep down, the people rooting for her to fail just realized something terrifying. She can win without even playing. Her presence is so powerful, her influence so undeniable, that even when she's injured, her team can rally around what she built and still walk away with a trophy. And that kind of impact, that's not just rare. It's a threat to everything her critics have been clinging to. Everyone said the Indiana Fever were just the Caitlin Clark show. One-player team, no depth, no chemistry, just a media circus riding her coattails.
Get open, 1 second left, Clark doesn't get the shot off! Cloud locks her up!
But that narrative collapsed the moment they took down the best team in the league. On the road, without their superstar. The Minnesota Lynx came into the Commissioner's Cup final with a 14-2 record, steamrolling the competition. Most people expected Indiana to get humiliated. Instead, the Fever dropped an 18-0 run on their heads and never looked back. Natasha Howard looked like she had been waiting for that moment all season. Sophie Cunningham was ice cold under pressure. And the rest of the squad, they didn't flinch. This wasn't a lucky night or a fluke upset. It was proof of concept. The team is starting to click. Aaliyah Boston and Lexi Hull are playing their best basketball of the season. And with Aari McDonald permanently in the mix, they're faster, more dynamic, and tougher to guard. This win showed that Indiana doesn't just have talent, they've got clutch performers. People who step up when it matters most. And that makes Caitlin Clark even more dangerous. Because now, when she returns fully healthy, she's not coming back to carry a broken roster. She's rejoining a team that knows how to win, a team that finally believes it can do more than just survive her absence. It can thrive with her in control. And for the rest of the WNBA, that's not just uncomfortable, it's terrifying. You'd think leading the league in jersey sales, selling out arenas, and breaking viewership records would earn you some respect from your peers. But Caitlin Clark isn't just underappreciated by fellow WNBA players, she's being actively pushed down. Despite being the most talked about player in the league, she finished 9th in player voting for the All-Star game. 9th, not among fans, not among the media, among the players, her own competitors. One of her own teammates got more votes than she did. This wasn't about stats. It wasn't about who's having a better season. This was personal, a silent strike, a not-so-subtle message from the old guard. We don't like what you represent. Because Clark doesn't just bring cameras and fans, she brings pressure, attention, accountability. With her on the court, every missed shot, every bad game, every hard foul gets replayed, dissected, and posted online. The spotlight that followed her into the league didn't just land on her, it landed on everyone. And some players clearly resent that. The truth is, Caitlin Clark is seen as a disruptor. She didn't come up through the traditional WNBA grind. She arrived as a star, whether the league was ready for it or not. And the veterans who've been waiting for their moment in the sun now have to stand in her shadow, so they did the only thing they could. They voted her down, not because she deserved it, but because it made them feel like they still had control. But that control, it's slipping, and what's replacing it is a wave they can't stop. What we're seeing isn't just a rivalry or resentment, it's a cultural clash. The old WNBA and the new WNBA are colliding, and Caitlin Clark is right at the center of it. For years, players begged for more media coverage, better marketing, and larger audiences. They claimed the league was ignored because of sexism, because of lack of promotion, because nobody gave them a fair chance. And then, finally, the W got its golden ticket. Her name was Caitlin Clark. She brought the fans, she brought the cameras, she brought the money. Suddenly, First Take is talking WNBA for 40 straight minutes. Jersey sales are through the roof. Casual sports fans who never gave the league a glance are now tuning in every game. It should have been a celebration. Instead, it triggered a backlash. Some players don't want the casuals. They don't want the criticism that comes with the spotlight. They don't want to compete with a 22-year-old rookie for headlines, followers, or all-star spots. They want the league the way it used to be, tight-knit, under the radar, low pressure. Look at what happened with DeWanna Bonner, a seasoned vet who reportedly couldn't handle the heat, the noise, or the pressure. She didn't just walk away from a team, she walked away from the spotlight that came with it. And you get the sense she's not the only one feeling that way. The WNBA has spent decades riding NBA training wheels, funded, supported, and propped up without turning a profit. Caitlin Clark offered them a shot at finally balancing on their own, but learning to ride solo means falling. It means scrutiny. It means adapting to a louder, less forgiving fan base that actually cares. And some players aren't ready for that, so they push back, not with press conferences, but with silence, with cold shoulders, with 9th place votes and subtle digs. Because this new WNBA isn't just different, it's uncomfortable, and it's led by someone they never expected. Caitlin Clark should be the WNBA's greatest asset, but instead of being celebrated, she's become the perfect scapegoat. For nearly 30 years, the WNBA has leaned on NBA support to survive. Hundreds of millions in funding, media backing, and visibility without ever turning a profit. Even last year, during the so-called Caitlin boom, the league still lost around $40 million. That's where Clark changed everything. She wasn't just a good player, she was a walking economy. She sold out arenas, crashed merchandise sites, and brought in millions of new fans. But instead of rallying around her, many in the league turned cold. Her presence exposed an uncomfortable truth: she was doing for the WNBA what no one else had, and that made her threatening. She didn't just bring attention, she brought pressure. Real fans, real critics, real consequences. Suddenly, every missed layup or bad night wasn't just a stat, it was a headline. And a lot of players clearly weren't ready for that kind of microscope. So what happened? They pushed back. They voted her down. They fouled her hard. They questioned her legitimacy, because for some, it was easier to blame the messenger than face the shift she represents. Caitlin didn't ask to carry the league, but now that she is, every step she takes is being met with resistance from the very people who once begged for this kind of spotlight. What's happening in the WNBA isn't just about hard fouls or missed votes. It's a quiet civil war. Caitlin Clark didn't start it, but she became the face of it. Every shove that doesn't get called, every petty comment, every cold shoulder, it's all part of a growing divide between the league's old guard and the new wave Clark represents. Some players wanted more attention, until it showed up wearing an Iowa jersey. Now, the spotlight feels uncomfortable, the pressure is real, and the resentment is loud, even if it's not always always spoken. Clark's post-game comments said it all. They're sick. Not because she failed, but because she didn't. She keeps winning, keeps drawing fans, and keeps proving them wrong. And with the Fever suddenly looking like real contenders again, the tension in the league isn't going away. It's only just beginning. Caitlin Clark just helped her team win a championship without even touching the floor, and it flipped the entire league on its head. The haters lost their favorite argument. The Fever proved they're for real, and the spotlight that once felt temporary, it's not going anywhere. This isn't just about one win. It's about momentum, about timing, about a rookie who walked into a league built to resist her and started rewriting the story anyway. The Commissioner's Cup was supposed to be a detour. Now it feels like a turning point, because when Clark returns fully healthy, with a confident, battle-tested team around her, the league won't just be watching, it'll be holding its breath. And if you think the drama's over, it's not. The real fight hasn't even started yet. If you made it this far, drop a trophy in the comments and subscribe for what's coming next. Because trust me, this season is far from done.